waiting. Success, you see, isn't a grand event or a sudden windfall. It's the quiet accumulation of small, consistent disciplines. Wake up a little earlier. Read 10 pages of a good book. Make that extra call. Say no to what distracts you. These are not dramatic actions, but over time, they produce dramatic results. Waiting. Just as a tree grows from a tiny seed nurtured day by day, so too does a successful life grow from the daily disciplines we choose to honor. Failure, waiting, on the other hand, doesn't strike like lightning. It's a slow leak, not a blowout. It's the result of tiny errors in judgment, repeated day in and day out. Waiting. You skip the workout, ignore the budget, brush off the opportunity to learn, and before long, you've drifted miles off course. You just keep waiting. It's easy to dog, but it's just as easy not to. That's the trap. That's where people go wrong. They think the small things don't matter. Waiting. But everything matters. Every habit is a vote for the person you are becoming. When you make your bed, you're casting a vote for order. When you write your goals, waiting, you're voting for vision. And when you waste your hours on meaningless tasks, you're voting for regret. Waiting. The harvest always matches the seeds we plant. No exceptions. So if you want a different harvest, it's time to plant different habits. Your habits don't lie. Waiting. What you do daily is a mirror reflecting your future. Want to know where you're heading? Just observe what you repeatedly do without thinking. Waiting. Do you feed your mind with wisdom or with noise? Do you push your limits or settle into comfort? Waiting. Your private habits are silently preparing you for public success or public disappointment. So remember, it's not the big things once in a while. Waiting. It's the small things every single day. That's the secret. And here's the punchline. Discipline weighs ounces. Waiting. Regret weighs tons. So choose your habits like your life depends on it, because it does. A failure doesn't happen all at once. Waiting. It's not some loud crash that announces itself with trumpets. No, failure's quiet. It's subtle. Waiting. It sneaks in while you're not looking. One small mistake at a time. A missed opportunity here, a shortcut there, a decision to delay what matters most. Waiting. It's the cumulative effect of tiny errors in judgment, repeated day after day, that slowly pulls a person off course. And here's the most dangerous part of waiting. Those small errors don't seem to matter at first. You skip one workout, nothing changes. You spend a little extra money. No disaster. Waiting. You ignore that book you were going to read. No harm done. But that's exactly the problem. Because nothing happens, people think they're getting away with it. Waiting. But life is keeping score, even when it looks like nothing's moving. Over weeks and months, those little choices compound. Waiting. What began as harmless turns into harmful. A small neglect becomes a major flaw. And before long, a person wakes up wondering, waiting. How did I get here? But the answer is always the same, slowly and by choice. It wasn't fate. Waiting. It was repetition. Daily errors in judgment that seemed innocent at the time. That's why awareness is so critical. You have to stop and ask, waiting. What am I doing repeatedly that might be costing me in the long run? Because everything counts. Every bite, every dollar. Waiting. Every hour spent or wasted. It all adds up. The math of life is always running in the background. It multiplies whatever you feed it. So here's the hard truth, waiting, and the powerful lesson. Failure is nothing more than a few small errors in judgment, practiced every day and ignored until it's too late. Waiting. Every habit you form is like planting a seed, whether you realize it or not. And here's the reality, no seed remains dormant forever. Sooner or later, it sprouts. Waiting. The question is, what kind of seed did you plant? Was it a seed of discipline or of neglect, of growth or decay? Waiting. Because make no mistake, the harvest is always guaranteed. Nature doesn't discriminate between good or bad habits. It simply grows what you plant. Waiting. If you choose to plant the seeds of learning, effort, integrity, and consistency, the harvest is beautiful. You reap confidence, opportunity, and progress. Waiting. But if you plant seeds of procrastination, excuses, shortcuts, and laziness, the harvest will be just as real, but not nearly as pleasant. You'll get weeds. Waiting. You'll get overgrowth. You'll get problems that multiply while you're not looking. Waiting. People often think can escape the consequences of bad habits because the effects aren't immediate. But life operates like a delayed reward system. Waiting. You don't get the crop the same day you plant the seed. It takes time. But once the results arrive, there's no denying them, waiting. You can't blame the soil if you planted the wrong seed. You can't curse the weather if you never watered your field. And here's the key: you are the farmer, waiting. No one else can choose your habits for you. No one else can make you plant good seeds. That responsibility is yours alone. The exciting part: you can start over, waiting. You can clear out the weeds, turn over the soil, and begin planting something better today. The land will respond, because it always does. So remember this simple truth: waiting. Every day you sow, whether by choice or by default, and the harvest doesn't lie. What you do behind closed doors, the things nobody sees, waiting, the choices nobody applauds, those are the very things that shape your future. You see, private discipline always leads to public reward. That's a law of life, waiting. If you rise early to study, to build, to improve yourself, no one may notice at first. But keep going long enough, and the results will become so obvious, waiting. They can't be ignored. The challenge is most people crave recognition before they've earned results. They want the applause before the effort, waiting. But life doesn't work that way. Life observes your habits in silence and then rewards you in public. If you cheat the process in private, waiting, you rob yourself of the results in public. No one escapes this principle. Not the successful, not the struggling, waiting. What you practice in secret becomes your performance on stage. The gym you go to when it's cold outside. The book you read instead of scrolling endlessly, waiting. The moment you say no to temptation when no one's watching. These are the unseen moments that build character, confidence, and capability, waiting. Public victory is just private discipline wearing a suit and tie. People think it's luck. It's not. It's just consistency dressed up in results, waiting. But here's the warning: the same rule applies in reverse. If you're careless in private, if you lie, delay, cut corners, waiting, or ignore your own standards, eventually it all leaks out. The cracks will show. The results will suffer. You may fool others for a while, waiting, but you can't fool your habits, and they always come to collect. So etch this into your thinking, waiting. What you do in private writes the script for how you perform in public. So rehearse like it matters, because it does, waiting. People often spend years trying to figure out their future, as if it's something hidden in the stars or locked in a fortune cookie, waiting. But the truth is far simpler and far more direct. You don't decide your future. You decide your habits, and those habits are the architects of your destiny, waiting. Every choice you make daily, no matter how small, is a building block. Stack enough of the right ones, and they form a life you're proud to live, waiting. It's easy to dream of a better future. Anyone can do that. But dreams without habits are just wishes with no legs. If you say you want to be wealthy, waiting, but your habits involve spending more than you earn, the math doesn't lie. If you want to be wise, but your habits revolve around distraction instead of education, you just keep waiting. The outcome is already written. The real decision isn't about where you want to go. It's what you're willing to do every single day to get there, waiting. The future doesn't respond to what you hope for. It responds to what you repeat. It doesn't care about your intentions. It cares about your patterns, waiting. So when you say you want something, don't look to the calendar. Look to your calendar. What are you doing with your hours? Waiting. That will tell you more about your future than any 5-year plan ever could. And here's the hard truthing: your results will always reveal your routines, waiting. If your future doesn't look the way you hoped, don't blame the vision. Inspect the habits. They tell the real story, waiting. The future you desire is already being shaped right now by what you're doing or failing to do. That's not pressure. It's power, waiting. It means you're in control even when it doesn't feel like it. So take this with you today, waiting. Don't get the future you wish for. You get the future your habits deserve. Your neglect rarely begins with a loud announcement. It starts quietly, waiting, almost innocently. One skipped workout. It doesn't seem like much. One day you decide not to read that book. It feels harmless, waiting. You hit the snooze button one morning, then again the next, and before long, what was once an exception becomes your new routine. That's how neglect creeps in, waiting. slowly, silently, and without resistance. The danger is in how subtle it is. No alarm bells go off, nothing breaks. The world doesn't stop spinning, waiting. And because the consequences aren't immediate, most people assume there aren't any. But time is always watching. And while you may not feel it today, waiting. Neglect is stacking interest against you. It's like letting a small leak drip day after day. It doesn't flood the house immediately, but over time, waiting, the damage is undeniable. Small acts of neglect, when repeated, harden into habits. And once something becomes a habit, it runs on autopilot, waiting. Now your default is skipping workouts, avoiding growth, and choosing comfort. That little snooze button has now stolen weeks of progress, waiting. That unread book cost you an idea that could have changed your direction. And that missed workout, it's not about muscles. It's about mindset, waiting. You trained yourself to give up when it's inconvenient. The fix isn't complicated, but it is uncomfortable, waiting. You must reverse the pattern before it roots itself too deeply. Start by reclaiming the small wins. Get up with the alarm tomorrow. Read just 5 pages, waiting. Move your body for 10 minutes, because neglect starts small, but so does recovery. The path to strength is paved with tiny daily victories stacked on purpose, waiting. So write this down and live by it. Neglect doesn't scream, it whispers. And if you don't answer with discipline, waiting, you'll wake up surrounded by consequences, waiting. Winners understand a vital principle: growth is rarely comfortable, but it's always necessary. So they form habits that stretch them, waiting. They read when others are scrolling. They train when others are resting. They reflect when others are reacting. These habits aren't easy, but they're effective. They feed the mind, strengthen the will, and sharpen the skills. And over time, those disciplines compound into a life of purpose, power, and progress. Losers, waiting, on the other hand, prioritize comfort over challenge. They build habits that make them feel good in the moment, but cost them dearly in the long run. They hit snooze, waiting. Avoid hard conversations, waste time in distraction, and drift through their days. These habits feed convenience, not growth, waiting. And because growth doesn't live in comfort, they stay exactly where they are, stuck, frustrated, and wondering why nothing ever changes. The truth is, waiting. Both winners and losers have routines. The difference is what those routines are designed to achieve. One is built for expansion, the other for escape, waiting. One is about who you're becoming, the other is about staying who you've always been. And make no mistake, there is no neutral ground, waiting. Every habit is moving you in one direction or the other. That's why personal responsibility is so crucial. You must choose what kind of life you want, waiting. And then form the habits that match that choice. If you want growth, then feed it daily through action, not intention. If you want excellence, waiting. You must trade comfort for discipline. That's the exchange rate of success. The habits of a winner may be hard, but the results are worth every ounce of effort, waiting. So remember this simple principle: comfort is a drug, growth is a discipline, waiting. And your habits will always tell the world which one you're addicted to. And your daily routines are like a garden. And in every garden, waiting, things grow, some intentionally, some by accident. The question is, are you cultivating the right habits or letting the wrong ones take root, waiting? Because just like a gardener must regularly check the soil, inspect the plants, and pull the weeds, you must look closely at your routines. Are they producing fruit, waiting, or just eating up time? See, weeds don't need permission to grow. You don't have to water them. They show up on their own. Slowly, then all at once, waiting. One small distraction becomes a daily habit. One skipped responsibility turns into a trend. You stop paying attention and suddenly, waiting. Your mental garden is overrun with clutter. You didn't plan for it, but that's the cost of not inspecting what's growing in your life. And here's the trap, waiting. Sometimes those weeds look like flowers. Scrolling social media feels productive. Complaining feels like venting. Avoiding that task feels like taking a break, waiting. But when you look closer, you'll see they're choking out your focus, your energy, and your potential, waiting. Just because something grows easily doesn't mean it belongs in your routine. That's why personal review is so important, waiting. You need time every day, even just 5 minutes, to ask yourself what's working, what's wasting my time, what needs to be trimmed or replaced, waiting. That kind of honest inventory keeps your habits aligned with your goals. Without it, you're letting life grow wild. And wild doesn't lead to wisdom, waiting. It leads to chaos. So take this with you. If you don't inspect your habits like a gardener, waiting. Don't be surprised when your life fills up with weeds instead of fruit, waiting. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you're laying bricks. The question is, are you building something that lifts you higher, waiting? Or are you digging yourself deeper into problems? Every decision, every action, every habit is either a step upward or a shovel full of dirt downward, waiting. Life doesn't stand still. You're either constructing a future you're proud of, or you're burying your potential under layers of delay, distraction, and excuses, waiting. Some people spend days blaming circumstances while holding the shovel in their own hands. They say life is unfair, waiting. Yet they keep repeating the same habits that got them stuck. That's the trap, thinking the hole is someone else's fault while continuing to dig it yourself, waiting. No progress comes from digging. You can't rise while you're moving in the opposite direction, but building a staircase. That takes work, waiting. It's slower than digging. It's harder. It's brick by brick, day after day. But with each habit of discipline, each act of learning, each moment of courage, waiting, you gain another step. Over time, what looked like just effort becomes elevation. People will look at your results and call it luck. It wasn't, waiting. It was architecture built by your daily choices. You don't build a great life in a weekend. You don't fall into a miserable one overnight, waiting. Both are built one action at a time. That's the secret most ignore. Your habits are the tools. Use them to build or misuse them and sink, waiting. The power's in your hands, not anyone else's. And once you realize that you're no longer a victim, you're the builder. So let this stay with you, waiting. Each day, you're either climbing to your future or digging your way out of it, waiting. The choice is in your hands, and so is the shovel. Discipline isn't easy, but it's light. It may sting for a moment, but it won't break your back, waiting. Waking up early, saying no to distractions, pushing through discomfort. Yes, it takes effort, but it's measured effort, waiting. It's the kind of weight that strengthens you, like a dumbbell in the gym. It demands something of you, but it gives more in return. Discipline asks for focus now, waiting, so life doesn't take freedom later. On the other side sits regret, and regret doesn't weigh ounces. It weighs tons, waiting. It's the heaviness of what could have been, the burden of missed chances, the ache of knowing you had time and wasted it. Regret is silent at first, but over time, it grows loud. It reminds you of every opportunity ignored, every dream postponed, every goal sacrificed for a moment of ease. And by the time it shows up, waiting, it's already too late to rewind the clock. People often choose comfort now, unaware they're signing up for pain later, waiting. They skip the discipline because it's inconvenient, not realizing that convenience today often turns into suffering tomorrow, waiting. The irony is that discipline looks hard, but it's actually a gift. It prevents a much heavier cost. Every time you choose discipline, waiting, you make a down payment on freedom. But every time you avoid it, you add interest to your future regret, waiting. The key is to understand the difference between temporary discomfort and lasting damage. Discipline may feel like a sacrifice, but it's really an investment, waiting. Regret, on the other hand, is the debt you pay when you refuse to invest. And that debt doesn't just hurt, it haunts, waiting. So when faced with the decision between what's easy and what's right, remember you're not choosing between pain and no pain, waiting. You're choosing when and how you'll feel it. So write this deep into your philosophy, waiting. The pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. One strengthens you, the other crushes you. Choose wisely.